Hello, I'm Mike Ryan. I'm the Chief Networking Officer at PIMS, and welcome to our second season of Minutes with Mike. Now in my 33rd year at PIMS, I've had the privilege of partnering with companies both large and small, supporting their PR and marketing through customized fulfillment and distribution that delivers measurable impact on their brand perception, boosts positive affinity, and fuels their overall brand performance. And throughout my career, I've had the chance to work alongside many talented folks. This is their story. On this show, we'll sit down with some of the world's top marketing and business thought leaders to learn more about their success, how they got there, how marketing helped them achieve their goals, what strategies they used, and what inspires them. Please join me on this journey as we learn from those who are changing the way we think about business. So sit back, enjoy. You're listening to Minutes with Mike. Welcome, everybody, to Minutes with Mike. Today, our very special guest is the co-founder for Sundial Cocktails, Mr. Sean Cote. Sean, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You'll notice there's another window in today's episode, too. Dylan Simonson is our co-host today, one of the absolute blockbuster people here at PIMS. Dylan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Mike. It's very exciting to be here.
Dylan and I have been talking at great length about today's episode and the different questions we were going to ask. We shared some with you, and we've been coming up with them as each day and night goes by. So I'm very excited to jump right in. Sean, the reason I asked you to be on the show is you have been so diligent and posting, especially on LinkedIn. I follow you. I follow the brand, of course, and we have been so impressed with the amount of time and energy you're putting into bringing the brand forward and certainly getting your face and message out there. And I do want to talk about that at length, but let's start from the beginning. Let's jump right into it. Where did this all start? Like, where did your love for creating this brand begin? How did it start? Tell us.
So I had the privilege of studying in Germany for 4.5 months. I went to Quinnipiac, but during a study abroad program, I was over there, and they actually had what's called spadies, or late night stores. And so you'd be able to hop on in, grab a drink, and kind of keep walking. And that obviously is not something that happens in America. And so RTDs, or ready to drink cocktails, are vastly ahead over there. And at the time, we saw a couple brands, a Captain and Ginger and a Jack Daniels and Cola. For us, newly 21 at the time as well, I had never seen these, was very excited about them. And so when I came back to America, I reached out on LinkedIn to one of the senior VPs of innovation for Brown-Forman, and they responded. Awesome person, and gave me some good advice. And so at that point, I said, this is something that's interesting. This is something we at some point will want to do. Was lucky enough to actually have a really good job out of college. And so I had to put this idea on the back burner. We were certainly researching for several years, having discussions as a team. But finally, when COVID hit, I wasn't commuting 3 hours a day anymore. And I was able to put some extra time into this. And finally, in 2021, I jumped full on into it. And that's it. We've been here ever since. One of the most interesting parts of this was coming up with the flavors as well as where we stand out, because I think a lot of other brands aren't taking the time to really think through what their brand is, what their goals are, and make sure they stay loyal to those core values of their products.
Yeah, listen, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know. It's a busy space, and the brands that do the best are the ones that are founded or co-founded with that type of passion. If you're getting into it for immediate success, if you're getting into it because you think it's going to be easy, if you're getting into it because you went to a party and made some drinks for somebody one time and they're like, that shit's good, man. You should brand that, right? It's a much bigger stretch, a much bigger world than that. Talk a little bit about the actual process, right? I can't even imagine what it takes to not only get the ingredients, the canning, the warehousing, the logistics. Like, it's such a giant beast. Like, where do you start? What's the first thing you do? What's the first step you take when you decide, all right, we're going to do this? And how'd you come up with the name?
First, I'll start with the name. My brother, I'll give him full credit for this. We've been working for a couple weeks as a team, coming up with different concepts. The goal was to have an anytime drink. And for us, and we actually do have the trademark anytime cocktails as well, because we wanted it any time of the day. So was it a breakfast drink? Was it an afternoon? Was it a dessert, as one of our drinks is a chocolate sunset mojito here? Time of your life, and kind of time when family comes together. Those were all kind of goals of ours when we were starting the brand. We also are big fans of groups like Kenny Chesney, Jimmy Buffett, that 5 o'clock somewhere, Alan Jackson, and trying to figure out how we could create a brand around that kind of feeling and vibe. And so we, weeks and weeks trying to figure this out. And then one day my brother comes in and goes, yeah, Sundial Cocktails. And I do tease him to this day. I go, that's a dumb name. I'm like, why would we do that? And what does it mean? A sundial? What's a sundial? And for 2 weeks, I'm in the car driving around, and all I kept saying is Sundial Cocktails. That fits. And then it really finally hit us as we're building this, and we started playing with logos and trying to figure out what we're going to do next, that it does work. And one of the things that we laugh about is even our logo right now, we picked it to be clean cut and simple so that in a busy space, it's easy to catch. The white catches your eye. You know what color you like to drink there. It's simple, right? And when you first start and you're starting to build these logos, you're like, what is this going to go on? It doesn't even feel real. It doesn't feel like it's going to be a brand. And it almost took us till the first full 12 months of seeing the product on the shelves, seeing the logo on different products in like branding, merchandise, what have you, to finally go, wow, this is a real company. When it came to really starting ingredients, everything, and to this day, it still boggles me on how much goes into the logistics side for us. We had researched a bunch of different people to assist us with this process, and we found one who was able to help us a little bit more navigate the branding side of things. And that was a good lead to give us the right initial vendors. And then since then, we have adjusted since. But it was a little bit of a guiding step because the ingredients for us come from California. The cans come from Ohio. It's manufactured in Jacksonville, Florida. We're up in New England. We warehouse it in New York. You can't get more American than this. We're every part of the state with the country we're in at this point. And each one of those steps, we walk through it. And we were trying to figure out what the next step was, but you really are trying to juggle a bunch of things at once. And that's why it took us from initially naming it Sundial Cocktails to physically canning the first group. It took us about 10 months. And then after that, we'll talk about it a little later, but we had a seasonal cocktail we got done in 8 weeks. And that was the fastest we've ever done it. Pretty proud of that one. And yeah, it's certainly a process.
You know what's amazing too is along with that presence, being online and sharing this journey and watching your videos that you post, some of them are fabulous. As this went really well, we had great turnout. I was hoping for this, and it actually exceeded my expectations. But then you have episodes where you're like, it's 110 degrees. I'm in my car. I'm waiting in line. Like you're telling, and I think that's where people really bite into this whole thing is they're getting that vibe from you. This is a true journey, and they're getting your essence of course it's difficult. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is what it is. But my point is with this community too, because since I started following you, I noticed that, and I hope you notice that I like all of the videos that you post. I noticed too that some of the other guys and gals that are liking those are other brands, right? There are people in your community that have likewise interests and likewise problems, right? Oftentimes they're posting messages about enticing you to keep going forward, or that was a nice win. And that type of community, I think, is in the space we're in too, where it wasn't too long ago that people would be like down on Sundial. Let's get them out of the space. There's already 10,000 this, 100 of those. Let's get rid of them. Now it seems like quite the opposite. They're encouraged by your growth. Talk a little bit about that. First of all, who encouraged you to start that online with the LinkedIn posts and the videos? And then what do you think of that whole community that supports that world?
The initial videos came from a little bit of more of a frustration, right? I'm on the road. I'm working about 6.5 days a week, especially during the summer. And the last thing I wanted to do is take photos, try to figure out how do I make a summer photo? How do I make a spring photo? All right, this photo looks different from this. And when we initially started, it was a big deal. You could do photos, there was engagement. And then TikTok really took over. Instagram Reels came to the table, and you're looking at videos. and it is near impossible. If you think photos were bad, trying to get videos done while going to in-store demos and trying to get permission from people and get different people inside of it, make sure you're constantly doing something different. It's so much effort on the back end that it was almost a full-time job. And it was weeks where I'd say, I can't do this. I can't be doing these videos. I can't be doing anything. So finally I said, enough. Let's build a page. We called it Sundial Shares, so it wouldn't necessarily impact our direct followers. We talked about what was going on. And this was supposed to be honest, quick. I know I'm always on the road, so I actually have on my Bronco a little iPhone stand. It drives me nuts because it stands there all day. That's all it is. And when I have a moment, I pop it down, I do a quick video, and I send them out. And you'll see they're really not cut. I'll take the front in the beginning, and I'll spend some time on that, but they're quick. And you're going to see it get a little bit more crazy when you get into the summer months, when running around to all these events, and it'll be a lot more exciting at that point because we're in over 50 events a year and probably well over 100 in-store demos.
That's
so
amazing.
There's a lot of content coming on that side. Now, the other piece to your question was the other owners of other brands. And you are 100% correct. There really isn't a community like this one that comes together and wants to help each other. It's not, the RTD space is growing. And yes, we are competing for the same places, but a lot of times if the product is at least somewhat different, there's room on the shelf, right? If you're standing behind your product and you're earning that placement with the store, there's no reason that two brands can't communicate and talk. And I've had several owners that have helped us tremendously. One in particular, I have to give him a lot of credit. I'll call him out actually, Stephen Poirier. He certainly helped us a lot. When we were going through some stuff with new licensing and moving away from someone who was initially helping us, he jumped in and said, why are you doing it like that? Why would you spend money on this? This is great, but if you did this, it would be better. And he wasn't asking for anything, and it wasn't this major conversation. It was quick conversations back and forth that helped me. And even to this day, we have several brands that will go back and forth and say, hey, did you do this event last year? Was it worth it? You know what? Maybe it wasn't. How about you do this event? Oh, I'm going to this. You should really do that. And we're all helping each other. And it's not impacting our businesses in a negative way at all. In fact, it's actually building us all up, because at the end of the day, there's so many larger players. We're not competing for that market space. It may be on the on-premise side, bars, golf courses, whatever. Certain ones may be a little bit tighter than others, but again, it's not a one-for-one on that side.
Yeah, and that's a great point too, because in that space, I handle networking at PIMS. So I'm the same nice mug. I like that little plug. Way to go, Sean.
It's great.
Attaboy. Nice. Yeah. And I noticed the shirt too. Love it. Good man.
Stand up a little bit there.
little minutes with Mike swag. Doing that networking, there's so many pitfalls of going to the wrong shows at the wrong space at the wrong time. There's money that goes behind these things, and certainly your time. To have like that big brother that can just be like, no, don't go to X. I did it last year. It was terrible. Y is much better. If you're going to do the spend, do it for Y. Having that on my end in this corporate setting saves me so much time and money and energy. And you know how time is money, right? So you want to be able to cut the line a little bit with that. In your world, right, that could mean the difference between an entire spend and a quarter, right? So having that community, having those tie-ins, and I'm sure you'll do the same down the road when somebody else tries to get into the space, makes it that much better and probably binds you a little bit tighter to that whole group as well.
To be honest, we do it now. It doesn't have to be. This is the nice thing about this industry, is it doesn't have to be this major advice. It's going back to those events. It's simple thing. For us, Connecticut is a market we've been in for a couple of years. And when others are coming into the space, we're like, hey, these events at Foxwoods are amazing for us. They give us exposure. We get the Rhode Island, Connecticut market, and it's great. And you can pull people in to let them do those while they're also helping us with, I'll be honest, the golf show. We jumped into Northeast Golf Show because a great guy, Fred from Links Drinks, was like, yeah, it's great. You get to meet a lot of people. It's a lot of exposure. And that was the extra jump it took me to say, all right, it's worth the investment of time, resources on our side, because it is a commitment. It's 3 days. 2 separate owners are there trying to push everything. we were fully focused on this event, and it was great, and we've actually landed quite a few accounts from it. But if it flopped, that was it. We just lost a major spring weekend, and this time of year, it's really important not to waste time.
In my brain, I want to talk about the flavors, but I'm so interested in the canning, and very timely. I was watching some kind of reel, probably because I've been talking about you so much. The algorithm heard me talking and put this in there. How does that work, right? Like, how does it work? And cans versus bottles, different size cans, the shape of your can, how it opens, and how the process works. Now, tell me a little bit about that. Probably some of that was self-taught too, right? Like, of course, there's people out there that you can hire that'll walk you through the process. It's a gazillion dollars. You can learn from others in piecemeal. That works too. But then there's roll up your sleeves and just jump into it and make mistakes along the way. How does the whole canning process work?
So we're lucky enough to have Sound of Spirits, Michael Renner and Verena Renner as well, to help us through the physical co-packing canning process of physically blending our ingredients and canning the drinks itself. When we first started with cans, it was really the Wild West. If you weren't a major brand, if you weren't a beer, you're coming into this trying to figure out, should you be what would be considered a standard 12-ounce can? Should you be a sleek, which is what we are right now, the tall can? And what are the benefits to either, whether it's a marketing, whether it's packaging, whatnot, but you want to fit into a certain standard. And there is a lot of advice out there that may or may not be good, right? So you have to make those decisions for yourself. What made life a lot easier for us is that Sound of Spirits actually allowed us to do smaller runs initially. So yes, we were investing in all the cans, but we could also make different flavors and start to get our numbers up a little bit all to get to those smaller discounts to figure out which cans work. And even now, we're pretty proud that this year we're moving fully over to a new can company, and it's going to be printed cans from now on. Great. And that was a severe challenge for us over the years, trying to get through our initial batch of cans, make sure that our new process, fully tested liquid in these new cans, make sure everything works, because cans are fickle. And you need to make sure that if you're going to make a major investment, as we do, in a whole new process, a whole new lead time, and frankly into a high investment process, you'll learn if you get into the space, cost of goods is crazy for us. You needed to make sure you had that trust. And so for this year, we finally got to that point where we can move away from what we have now, which is a shrink wrap can, into a more professional, in my opinion, printed can. And it's going to be the texture. It's going to have a gloss to it. We're really excited about that.
Amazing. When we started this podcast, what we were going to call it, the name of the podcast, took us a couple of weeks. Because every time somebody came up with something, they'd come in my office and just blurt it out. And I'd be like, eh. And then they'd be like, how about this? Eh. And then once we got it was going to be Minutes with Mike, we're like, what about the logo? Bleh. This guy loved it. She hated it. She loved it. He hated it. It was all that. I took it all personal, of course, too. That's for my dumb little logo, right? I'm going to go through the names of the flavors, and I want you to give me a quick rundown on where it came from, where the name came from, and what your thought pattern was behind it. Because I'm sure there was a gazillion that you were like, this is going to be perfect, and you shot it down.
Mike, if I can jump in here before you say those names, the entire formula that we have come up with comes directly back to the brand. Sundial cocktails will always be rum cocktails, all authentic, and we wanted it to be familiar cocktails to the consumer, but also unique enough that you could go to a bartender, you could ask them for them, but it would never be a Sundial product, right? It would be a little bit more unique, where if they were to try to mimic it, they could do it. It would take them a heck of a lot longer than they want to spend on it. And so that's where you'll see, as we go through these names, you'll see the back end of the name is a standard rum cocktail that usually is unique enough to kind of blend that out a little bit. And so you'll see the end part, that's the name. The front part is where we add our twist a little bit here.
Before Mike gets back to his question, it's something I've been thinking about. The majority of this conversation is, do you and your brother, was rum big growing up for you in college, when you were overseas on vacation? Is that part of why you decided that, or you felt maybe it was easier to penetrate the market with something different? Because most of the RTDs out there are usually vodka based or along that line.
It was a bit of both. Initially, we knew we were never going to do a vodka. We
Mhm.
didn't come from the alcohol space. My business partner, Kenny Ricker, also my uncle, it's all family owned. He's been in the hospitality, he's owned restaurants for well over 30 years at this point. And we knew we had the experience in the space, but not the experience on the wholesale supplier side or anything like that. And to be honest, in our opinion, at least at the time, it was vodka was a pricing game. So how are we going to compete with that when you have these major players? And sure, we can add something to the table, but that was such an uphill battle that we just weren't necessarily ready to take that on. Tequila is something that we aren't as passionate about. We just wouldn't have had the background. If you talk to someone who drinks tequila, they know everything down to the sourcing. It's unbelievable. And that just wasn't us. And so there's a few spirits left. And for us, as I said, growing up, Cape Cod, awesome place. You're feeling like you're on vacation, beach. What are you thinking of? You're thinking of rum. And what was nice about it is it was very similar to vodka, except it has more of character to it, more texture. And so we could actually use the rum to blend well with the sugars and natural flavors to get that unique flavor that when people drink our product, they go, wow, this is refreshing, or this is feels natural, right? And it's because we used that rum and we used it to take advantage of those flavors as well.
And those flavors are as follows. Let's talk about them quickly. Sunset Mojito.
Yep. So Mojito is obviously a product that people know and love. And we decided that it needed to be unique. And at the time, we were having a party, and my aunt just came over with mint leaves from her garden. Natural. She's like, oh, great for fruit garnish. And I'm sitting over here going, it's the summer. Give me that. I'm going to make some mojito garnish. What are you talking about? And it turned out to be a mint chocolate leaf. And so we're like, huh, this is interesting. And people obviously heard we were making mojitos in the bar, and they're like, yeah, come on in. And people were trying it, and they were loving it. And it was so different that we're like, man, this is it. We're gonna test this out. And so we were thinking chocolate. All right, when are you drinking something that has a little bit of chocolate in it? It'd be a dessert drink, right? So what are we doing on the beach? Well, sunset. So then we decided sunset mojito, and been doing that one ever since.
Spiced rum and ginger.
We wanted to mimic a very popular spiced rum and ginger, right? And we put in an anchor to make it a little bit different, a little bit of a standout in the branding. But we wanted to make sure people knew that this product is exactly what it is. It's still different than a standard drink because we actually added the key flavors that would be in the garnish. And so a lot of times, especially at either a high-end restaurant, we see it a lot more, let's say in Europe, not only will it be a lime, but you'll also get an orange slice. So a lot of times people will drink this and go, wow, this tastes like a really refreshing ginger ale. We're like, yeah, that's the name. And they're like, no, it's really refreshing, really refreshing. And I laugh and I go, yeah, it's orange. You can't taste it, but it's there. And that refreshing feeling is orange and lime flavor that we've blended together to pull that forward. And you may not necessarily taste it. It does taste like a standard ginger ale. It's a little dangerous at 8% ABV because you do get in a little bit of trouble at some of these tasting events because it is 8%. Can't really taste it compared to all of our other drinks and just smooth. But it comes from that twist that you wouldn't necessarily get at a bar. You'd get one or the other. Unless you ask, you're not typically getting that.
How about the tropical Mai Tai?
So that was really exciting to make because Mai Tai was the number one rum cocktail at the time. The mojito was my personal one. I wanted the mojito. My business partner wanted the spiced rum and ginger for golf. That's his now number one drink. He has gotten better, even with the drinks. So, but
Do up a little bit.
I don't know if he's drinking them or other people are drinking them. He said he's improved quite a bit over the last few years. And the Mai Tai, like I said, was the top flavor at the time. And so we're like, yeah, we're going to make 3. That's all we're going to do. And we wanted it to be different because there's so many ways you can make a Mai Tai. And so for us, we're like, how are we competing? Because there was at least 4 Mai Tais on the market already, so we called it a tropical. We added coconut. It's heavy on the pineapple as well. Blended it together and just made it a little unique on that side. So that's why Mai Tai, and then we had the tropical for coconut.
The Island Rum Punch.
So that is one of my favorite stories because when I first started this, we wanted three. We wanted three flavors. We thought it'd be too much to do four. We never wanted to start out with four. And the first round of Mai Tai, after we had given suggestions, when you talk to a flavor house, you have to give them suggestions because you can't just say, make me a spice rum and ginger, because there's about 15,000 different ways to make that. And we tasted them all. And they brought us the Mai Tai, and we're like, this is really good. It's not a Mai Tai, but it's really good. And so we kept going on with the Mai Tai and doing it, but we kept going back to the first one. We're like, this is still freaking good. So we tweaked a couple things and then actually called it a rum punch. And it was our Island Rum Punch. And to this day, it's still our number one seller by a mile. It was a happy accident, and we're glad we did the four because that one is...
And I'm not just saying this, but as you're describing it, and Dylan, maybe you can back me up on this. As you're describing it, I'm tasting it. Like I could totally taste that. It's amazing. And what about the full fusion?
So I love this story now that we've moved past it a couple of years. But our first year in market, we're up in New England, and I went to a really good account of ours. One of our first accounts. They were moving a lot of product. And I walk in, maybe a little cocky. We had a good summer there. And it's the week after Labor Day. And he goes, hey, you did great. We'll see you next year. I'm like, what do you mean? We have 4 more months in the year. What are you talking about? It's still warm out. He goes, oh, you got your placement. You're good. And you're going to move some product, but it's going to slow down. You know that you're going to die off up here when the summer's over. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I went down the street to a couple more. They're like, yeah, you're not next to the beach or anything. You're in a central part of Massachusetts. What are you doing? So then I sprinted. The next store is right next to a Shaw's. And I'm like, oh no. I grabbed some cider. I grabbed the ginger. I'm like, I got to make a video. And now I'm not able to make videos. Didn't know what I was doing. I'm freaking out. I'm absolutely losing my mind on how are we going to survive with just this in the Florida market. Oh, what are we doing moving forward? And it stuck with us. We didn't know what we were doing. We finally pushed out for the year, got into the spring, and we're like, what are we going to do? And so the next year we opened up, that spring, we opened up New Hampshire. And I'm riding around with one of the sales reps at a Vacation Land Distributing up there. And we're talking. And I told him, I was laughing. I was like, man, this is great. What the hell is going to happen when the fall hits again? Because that stung. And I don't want that to happen again. He goes, why don't you make another drink? I'm like, yeah, let's just add more SKUs. That'll solve all the problems. And he goes, no, maybe you did something a little bit different. And I'm like, different? I go, I tried the spiced rum and cider. What if we did a fall drink? What if we did something, and not pumpkin, because pumpkin's 6 weeks, but maybe apple. Maybe apple, it can get us to Thanksgiving. Let's do that. And so we called up Michael Renner at Sound of Spirits and said, hey, and he's Austrian, and they do have a fall, but not compared to New England. It's a whole different flavor. So I go to him and I go, Michael, I need a fall drink. He's, what the hell's a fall drink? And I'm like, I don't know. Why don't we toss some apple, cinnamon, ginger? Let's see what happens. And he goes, okay. So he made me a bunch of different samples for time's sake and sent them on up. We tried a few and we said, man, this works. And we ended up just within 8 weeks, a full sprint. We did a run and we said it was fully allocated. So we asked every distributor and we thought maybe one would take it. They all took it. They're like, yep, lock it in. Let's do it. And they all took it. We had a full season of it. It was awesome. And we bridged that gap the first year from Labor Day weekend all the way to the end of October, which was great. Then last year was our second year with it. We actually went all the way till the first week of December. And even then beyond that, but we actually built it out in a way that we've constantly kept the flow going. And that has saved our company quite a bit because it's a full quarter of new orders and it really limits the amount of downtime we have that we have to maintain our company and move product as a small business.
I found it interesting because a lot of times companies will offer variety packs where if you don't want to buy a case or a 6-pack of this, 12-pack of that, we make one that has one of each in there. You guys don't do the variety pack.
Not yet. And that was done purposely. When we were talking to accounts at the beginning, they say they want variety packs. It's great for placements, but you are a small business and you're trying to support both on premise and off, meaning, again, bars where you're drinking physically on the premise versus taking it home off premise being a store. And if you're going and asking these accounts to help you, they don't necessarily want 4 flavors. And when you're having, besides maybe a party, like we are a rum cocktail. We're not a seltzer, right? With seltzers, it's great. You want a watermelon flavor, lemon. Does it really make a difference? Obviously, as you're going, but it doesn't. Like you're going to have some flavors you like. It's not going to be a difference. If you're a rum drinker, you're drinking a mojito. You're not necessarily drinking a Mai Tai. You're drinking the ginger, you're not drinking the rum punch. And yes, you could blend them, but it really didn't make sense at the time for us to do that and try to keep all those SKUs and keep the flat cash flow going and trying to push distributors to carry so many products. And then this year we thought about it. And the biggest thing is our costs would actually go up doing a variety pack right now because we have to box it in a different fashion. It's more labor intensive. When you as the customer buy 8 versus 4, you're expecting a discount. And I would want to be able to give you that discount for buying more. And so we had to hold off because I'm saying if we're going to do this, we need to make sure we're giving that value to the customer. They deserve that. And if we're going to do it, it has to be in balance with our current SKUs. It would be great to have a variety pack if we can get the extra places in stores, but our customers who love a single flavor, and you'll hear them if you come to events, it's that ginger has like a cult like following. It's unbelievable on that side. Or the rum punch. I don't ever want them to feel like they have to buy all 4 flavors, even though they have that one dedicated flavor. And so that's why for us, we held off. And the big frustrating part, I think that a lot of brands get into, whether it's because they're larger and they have a lot of payroll or costs and they're trying to get out a lot of product at once, is forcing these accounts to take on a lot of product. We have low quantity discounts in the states that allow us. We're trying to be a partner, right? They're giving us the opportunity. It's an earned placement. They have no reason to take it in other than they want us to succeed. They think it'll move in their store and it adds value to their portfolio. That doesn't mean I need to throw 50 cases at them and hope it moves. It's not fair to anyone. And so for us, we said, let's stick to the 4. It gives them the option to pick in what they want. And as we expand, great. And even then, like we have some new innovation coming out next year. We're just going to ask. We'll ask the distributors, do you want it? Awesome. You can take it. If you don't want it, we appreciate what you're doing for us right now. There's no reason that this has to be a big push on let's make a lot of money right now and let's just push it all out because we're going to die in a year. We're taking our time. We're trying to grow organically because there's too many people that are leaving the market from doing that.
We don't make any NDAs here at Minutes with Mike. So do you want to share with us any upcoming innovations or launches you got planned?
So the big one is we've increased our territories. We're really excited to be over the majority of New England finally. This was a big deal for me. I live in South Boston, and I made a joke earlier in this year because we actually got an account out in Orleans now. And I said, Orleans on the Cape, and I said, I can physically go 45 minutes in any direction to get my drinks, but I have to drive 45 minutes. And it's been like that for 4 years. And so finally, we have the greater Boston market. We have the Rhode Island market. We're so excited to have this because it allows us to build out. It allows us to go to new communities. And when we do, the amount of events and the amount of exposure that we truly get with Liquid to Lips, it's frustrating for these people to have traveled somewhere and go, where can I get it? You can't get it in your hometown. You got to go X, Y, and Z. So that was a big one. In terms of innovation, I can't tell you what the flavor is, but spring of next year, we will have a very exciting new familiar rum cocktail. It'll be a true innovation, I think, in the market because this is the one time, as people tease us because we use natural sugar, that we're bringing this famous drink to the table where it's healthier for you, cleaner, and more refreshing. So we are beyond pumped. We are testing it right now. We really think it's going to be really cool in the spring. And then on the other side, we always look at format. That's something that doesn't get talked about enough. 19-ounce cans are now allowed for spirits. We've even looked at pouches at one stage. The 2 liters, more like a boating type thing than anything else, not necessarily the 12-ounce pouches, but you want to see where the market goes. And it's really interesting to see how the new trend in alcohol and how is it actually being consumed. What do you do? Like when you drink one of our products, where are you drinking it, right? It is 8%. So I'm hoping you're stationary, right? And are you on a beach? Are you on a boat? Are you on a golf course? What are we doing here? How do you support that? And so those are some of the things that we work on. People don't know this, but in our market, you're typically a year out on anything, whether it's timing, logistics, or simply new items, especially on the seasonality of ours. All of our decisions are done November, December, and then we launch them about February, March. And that's typically the standard you'll see across the board. I laugh because High Noon, when the teas came out, I didn't hear that. I'd heard about other products and I heard there might be a new one. I thought it was just new SKUs. And then all of a sudden, Memorial Day weekend, 2 or 3 years ago, you just see massive High Noon teas everywhere. And you're like, where the hell did this come from? They purposely waited for that moment to do a massive launch in the Massachusetts market.
That's awesome. It's a nice segue too into I wanted to ask you a little bit about marketing, right? So we work with this one company. They've been in the news quite a bit due to their marketing strategies, and they've come out with it's water, and they've come out with a keg. Right now, so you're used to buying water in bottles, you're used to buying water in cans, and now their marketing has found out that people will buy this because it's this cool limited edition keg, right? Metal keg, they pop top, the whole 9 yards. And the first time I saw it, I was like, what the hell? And then I was like, actually, where can I get one? There's something about it that just draws you in. What strategies do you guys work on with marketing as we come to these summer months? And I would assume that's the busy season, right? What do you got brewing?
So I'll actually take that in 2 steps here because it's funny you mentioned the water piece of it. Because one of the things that I think happen, whether it's between owners, marketing people, or any person in this industry you talk about, they say, set your base, you'll find early adopters. Just get it to the people who are going to push your product because they love the product and they're going to do it organically. And eventually they'll just start drinking it. And eventually it'll get out there and you're like, really? Is that going to work? What are we doing? And for me, it clicked when I saw Liquid Death waters. Because I saw it. I was like, what? Like, I'm seeing the social media. I'm like, really? Come on. Like, it's a water. Yes, I like certain waters, but what are we doing? I've become their number one supporter. I'm on the road all the time. If I'm going to a concert and I don't want to drink as much, I know it sounds weird and I could be judged for this. It makes a huge difference having a 19-ounce or 24-ounce can in my hand versus a plastic water bottle. I still feel like I'm part of the concert. I can take a break and I don't really notice a difference. Obviously, I can feel I'm drinking water, but you don't really notice. It's a psychological thing. But when it first came out and I was like, great, I'm paying extra for aluminum. Awesome. And yes, it's good to be environment, but still cost me. And now I talk about it all the time. You can ask my fiance and all these events and people I go see, all these in-store tables. The first thing I'll ask is, do you actually have the white can of Liquid Death? And I'm like, oh, it's the only one I drink now. And it all came down to their marketing, their strategy, and finding out how it fits into the market. Going back to your question on us, it's really challenging because that's why we made the Sundial shares to make sure we constantly had content moving because I laser in. I mean, you have the Monday through Thursday, which I call the somewhat busy time, right? I'm talking to accounts, doing my thing, building a company. And then from Thursday to Sunday, the events are unbelievable during the summer. We are nonstop. You're still working Thursday, Friday, but you're in stores doing tastings. You're prepping for massive events on the weekends. You're driving. My farthest account that I'm willing to drive to is 3.5 hours away in New Hampshire and in Connecticut. So that's a 6-hour day if I didn't talk to a single other person. And I'm usually hitting about 15, 20 accounts on the road as quick as possible. And even if I'm running in to say, hey, I'm here, whatever you need, call me, but I got to keep moving because I'm trying to get home before 11 tonight. So when it comes to that, you need content to be quick. And so that's why we started making the videos so that we can be on the road. We can basically say, this is what we're doing. This is where you can find us. When we do events, That's a big marketing for us. It's liquid to lips. I think that no matter what, you can't compete with some of these spends. People need to try your product. And especially things like the ginger. There is so many bad ginger out there. And when we started, it was 30 attempts. I still, for the first year, I couldn't taste our spice rum and ginger because every time I taste all 30 attempts. It only was recently that I could start drinking it again and actually enjoying it. And when we do those events, we actually use it as a partnership. For example, the golf show was 2 weeks ago. I went to every account within that area that we were in or new account and said, hey, we're going to put you on our signage if you bring us in. Hey, I can't be doing this event and not have places for people to buy. This one was a big deal for us, and we saw the numbers jump. We've already seen the orders come in from an event 2 weeks ago because people said, oh, yeah, that was great. They took a picture of our sign and they went off, or they gave us a follow on Instagram. And you really don't know, and that's the challenging part with spending money on marketing. You don't know what did it. You don't know what was that final, okay, I'll buy it. And what, was it one of the events? Was it a TikTok video? Was it even, we have these metal signs in stores. Was that enough that they said, oh, yeah, I remember that brand? You don't know what did it. And the other piece of that is if you can spend money on certain things, what are you going to spend it on? For us, I'm so sick of koozies. I won't buy them anymore. I haven't bought them in 2 years. What we do instead is we do the floating boat keychains because everybody does koozies. I have about 100,000 of them in my golf bag. I average about 20 new ones a year. So we did these floating boat keychains branded, and it is so funny. You hear all the stories of people losing their keys, thinking this is the best thing ever. Same price as the koozies, just a little bit different, and it's just enough that it sticks in their mind. And so that's where we are currently spending our time. We did at the beginning invest in a group where we got to meet you guys, and you've really saved us a lot with our inexperience at the beginning. With Apex Drop, with gifting influencers for reviews, that helped us a lot at the beginning as well, make sure our product tasted good, because they had no reason to actually post. So the feedback they were giving us in the surveys was fully organic. And we were able to use that to say, okay, maybe it'll work here, or maybe it wouldn't. And that was invaluable at the beginning. And we still have those photos, and we use it in our marketing now. It's just something that's hard to keep up with. And so you have to have that balance. I think a lot of people don't understand when you start a business how much it's not just the money, it's the time and resources that you have. And some of these campaigns can take so much time that you just don't have in a day. And you have to plan them 6 or 8 months out. And you may have forgotten, honestly, what you did by the time you're in market. And so we're constantly trying to churn and see what markets work and see what works in each space. Because even though it's 100 miles away, it's a whole different community. It's a whole different way of life, as dumb as that sounds. But Connecticut does a ton of events and fairs that Massachusetts, they do, not to that extent. But with Massachusetts, they have a lot more vacation spots. That's where we hit. Or there's golf courses in New Hampshire that we can get into more, or the licensing.
It's funny because as all our worlds intersect and intertwine, right? Like at PIMS, because we are licensed to ship alcohol, and that's where we've found our partnership, and we do for others alike. That is a whole different animal too, right? That's a whole part of the industry that nobody knows about. The reason that a lot of these brands use us is because we simplify that, right? We're able to do these marketing distributions with the alcohol that they're just not used to. And the regulations that go along with that, and you mentioned the states, and that's what triggered it in my brain. There are some states that don't let you ship at all. There are some states that let you ship partial. There are some states that let it fly. You just want to throw things out and hope it works, because there's all sorts of FAA, FDA regulations that support all that too.
It's unbelievable. And that was something we really had no clue in. That was trial by fire. Out of everything, that was it. Each state is different pricing for us, right? Because each state has different rules of how we can interact with stores and what we can do with accounts and what we can say or can't say. It's unbelievable. And when you get into the world of social media, influencers just use it, oh, just ship it to me. I can't. Just do that.
I wish I had $1 for any time somebody said that.
It's unbelievable. And it was funny, and I tell this a lot, for the first 3 months of our company, we couldn't get our own product. We were in Mass. It's made at the time in Fort Myers. So we're like, okay, do we want to hop on a flight real quick so we can start drinking these? And we couldn't bring them on the flight because it's carbonated. So we're like, how the hell do we get this up here with all the licensing? How do you get samples to give to a distributor to have a partnership to build this up? It's unbelievable what people don't know that we all go through. And your partnership was truly invaluable and allowed us to do some of our first big events.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Because of it. Because we're sitting here going, how are we doing this? How are we getting the product? What are we doing? Because you don't know. And you don't know, again, what states are changing. And the biggest piece is not even what the states are. It could be what state is it coming from. So New York versus Florida, vastly different. We're still using a delivery service now where it feels like it changes all the time because even the accounts may change. Can it be in malt base or spirit? And you have to go through their license. So now you're shipping it here, but you're advertising it here for direct to consumer, and you don't know. And it can change in the moment. And people at events will always look at you like,
I have at the Ryan household, I have a home bar that we call the Rye Inn. Very clever. We have an exclusive partnership with Sundial at my house. So if you're coming over, that's all we serve. So don't worry about that end of things. You mentioned a fiance, and I wanted to ask you quickly about that too. Dylan's newly married. I've been married for forever, but it's tough to do the things you love if you don't have the right person that you're connected to that not only supports you, but understands, listens to your conversation as you need to talk it out, gives you advice when you need it. And when you say, I'm going to jump in a van and I'll be back in 7 hours, I got to go deliver this stuff or I got to go to the show. Kudos to your partner because sight unseen must be very special.
She has the patience of an angel, absolutely, on that side. When we initially started this, I had a great job, full-time. And before I did the full leap, I asked her, I go, this is going to be vastly different. There's a lot of risks. I don't know what we're getting into. It's just as much your life as mine. What are we doing? And she said, you know what? We're young. This is the one time you're going to be able to do it. So let's go.
Nice.
I don't know if she regrets that. But no, she's awesome. She's at all the events, and especially in the summer, she's an occupational therapist. She has work Monday through Friday, and she's running around. And then I'm running constant Thursday through Sunday. So if she doesn't jump in and help in the events, we don't see each other. And honest to God. And so she's actually come on and started helping every weekend she can. And I say it's a great experience, but it's certainly difficult and it's certainly tough. And she's been sticking by me.
That's awesome.
And you got to come up with great ways to stay focused on each other as well. One recently that we've fallen into a nice little tradition now is we are part of Foxwood's Royal Rosé. It's one of my favorite events. We actually put pink edible commercial grade glitter in all of our clear products. And people
that's sick.
For it. But Foxwoods allows us rooms at a severe discount as a vendor. So we actually on Valentine's Day was able to go down on a Saturday, spend the day together and just enjoy us for once and then hop right into the event the next day. And that was really awesome. And that would have not really happened without our having this company. And we're seeing areas of the country that we wouldn't otherwise. So that part's exciting, but it certainly takes a balance and a lot of patience.
Attaboy. Well done. Sean, where do you see the company 5 years from now?
It's hard to answer that. And the reason is because this market is changing so fast that when we first came out, everybody was like, you're too expensive. Nobody wants an 8%. Why rum? And all of a sudden we're seeing it pick up now and seeing, oh, I'm glad you're rum because everybody else is doing this. Oh, you have lower carbonation. That's awesome. And so we're trying to expand right now and keep cohesive markets such as New England and build them out and then see where it wants to take us. We haven't necessarily thought through if we're trying to build this up so quickly that we try to sell or if we're trying to build in a community. One thing that my business partner and I talk about is, do we create a second blending room and truly build out an entire idea behind canned cocktails and Sundial, or do we just keep on the path we're going? I really think it's just going to come down to what the market is telling us to do, and we're just going to follow what it says.
And the passion behind it is what's going to get you through. Kudos to that. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, if they're interested in hearing more, they want to purchase some of the product, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
I made the joke to an account the other day. The website, email, text, whatever, it's all on there. Homing pigeon, I'm sure it'll find us. And yeah, it's easy. We're constantly available. And that's part of it is everybody needs to find an account near them. So there's countless ways on our website to find us.
Great. And as we close down, we do that. I didn't prep you for this because we like to get your reaction. Dylan's developed a number of, we call it our lightning round. It's a number of this or that type questions. We want you to say the first thing that pops into your head. Some of them have to do with New England. Others have to do with your brand. But Dylan, I'm going to turn it over to you right now.
Thank you. All right, we'll start with the first one. Island Rum Punch or Sunset Mojito?
Rum Punch doubles our sales. Can't go wrong.
Dunkin' or Starbucks?
Oh, used to be Starbucks. I'm recently on a Dunkin' trend, but
Me too, bro. Me too, brother.
New Haven or New York pizza?
New Haven.
Come on.
Beyonce will say New York. No.
I still need to try. I haven't had any, so
for it, but it's like there's a sesame seed pizza on Long Island that's fantastic, but like I like what's going on in Quinnipiac area, Hamden, New Haven. I'm right.
A little biased, but I'll hear you.
Yeah.
Next up, Pats or Celtics?
Patriots.
Of course.
Boo.
He's a Jet fan. I'm anti.
And you're a Giant fan, so we both are not huge fans.
Yeah.
Still or sparkling? I think I may know the answer, though.
Still, typically, but yeah. Still, unless I'm enjoying it somewhere on the
When you mentioned the Liquid Death Still White Can, I figured, I was like, I might know the answer now. Another one, I think it's pretty obvious, summer or winter?
Summer.
Yeah.
The only reason I tease my fiance all the time, the only reason we're up in New England is it gives me 3 months to complain about the cold. It's the only reason. If not, I'd be bored. That's honestly the only reason at this point.
Next up, Netflix binge or reading a book, if you have time for either.
I really like reading. I really do, but it's usually Netflix. I just don't, at this point, I don't have time. If I'm on vacation, I try to bring a couple of books with me, though.
City life or country life?
Right now it's city, but I think in a couple of years it might switch.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, we have a family place in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and New Hampshire is a special place where it's a lot calmer, but I haven't been able to give up South Boston anytime soon. So that one's a tough one. That one's really tough.
Once you finish the grind that you're on,
there you go.
In the country.
Yeah, there you go.
Morning person or night owl?
Night. So much better at night. You'd be surprised how many people are awake in the morning and still want to talk. It's awesome. 2 a.m. You're alone. You can get a bunch of work done any day of the week.
That'll change too. When you're my age, I go to bed at 9 o'clock. Forget it.
Back in my day. And last but not least, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Dunkin'.
Yeah, anything. The latte, regular, whatever it is, but coffee. I need the caffeine, 100.
If you said anything about Dunkin', you might have been crucified being from Boston.
I know. That's why I switched.
I had to throw it in there. I had to.
Sean Cote, thank you so much. Sundial Cocktails, everybody check it out. This has been fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us. And best of luck moving forward. Certainly with the fiance. By the next time we chat, I hope it'll be a wife, but we'll see how that goes. And the brand just exploding. Best of luck and keep on killing it.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, and that's going to stop.